I went to jail.
No way.
She was in jail. I've lived. Your psychology becomes your physiology.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of FYI Podcast. We have Karla Elizondo here. She's an incredible person. Listen, I've known her for a few years. We met, we belonged to this creative group. I was really fit at the time, and I was running Ironmans and training for an Ironman, running like 32-mile ultra marathons. I was much more fit. And that's how I met Karla. Karla struck my eye because she has it's not a podcast, but you would post every day, like
just creating content around mindset and inspiration, and I think that's how we connected.
I just right away started watching her videos, and you know, she constantly will drop things that would help me throughout the day. And I've had some setbacks physically, had a bad injury, but I'm back. I'm on my grind, and we're here with Karla today to learn what motivates her, what gets her going, and what little gems she could drop in this interview to help us to be better us. So I'm bringing on different people, as you know, always from different walks of life. Today we are diving into the life of mental health, and that's what Karla is an expert in. So let's get started. Karla, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Paul, for having me. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm excited to be here.
It was like vital to get you onto this platform. Tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of just who you are, where you come from.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, everyone. My name is Karla Elizondo. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm originally from Southern California. I was born in Montclair, California, and I grew up in Ontario until I was about 6 years old, and then I stayed in Riverside. That's where I grew up primarily. And then I went to school. I really fell in love with the human condition, let's put it that way. From a very young age, I really had big questions. And I think every single person can relate when you're like, what's the meaning of life? What is it all about? And through a series of events, I fell into a depression at 12 years old. So pretty young. I didn't know at that time because it was in the 90s. No one talks about depression. Right. And still it's a stigma these days to talk about that sort of thing. And my parents didn't know. In high school, I was in the drama club. I did, but I really fell in love with the filming, like behind the camera, telling people's stories, kind of finding other people's stories through that. So through that, I went to college. My undergrad was in film and TV at Cal State Fullerton. And then I went out to LA when I was 22 years old. And I started working right away in production and casting. And I realized very quickly it wasn't what I thought. And so I went back to bartending, which was kind of my college job throughout everything. Kind of like, what do I do now? Wanting to travel, wanting to still figure things out. And depression and anxiety really go together because anxiety, from the best way I can describe it, is it's basically just ignorance of what is. I don't know, fear of the unknown. Right. And so when we're scared and when we're worried, we usually suppress that. So when we suppress anxiety, it turns into depression. And so I found myself in this dance between anxiety and depression. And I used alcohol to cope. And I started at a young age, high school, older kids giving you drinks. And I'm like, wow. Yeah. And so I realized, this is all just a real short version, that I was using alcohol to cope. And it actually is like pouring gasoline on a fire when you have anxiety. Yeah. Until I was 30, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is really painful. And nobody from the outside, and nobody can label you an alcoholic. It's kind of a self-diagnosed disease, if you will, or condition. And so that was something I had to figure out for myself. And I reached out for help, and I connected with people, and I decided to get sober. So I've been sober it's going to be 4 years.
Wow, congratulations.
And and so.
Fantastic. I want to start right when the first thing you mentioned was at 12 years old, you started having symptoms of depression. What led you, what were those, what took you there? What was happening?
Yeah. So recent studies, there's really great studies that show now there's proof that the major factors for depression and actually suicide is a lack of connection and a lack of purpose. So as a young kid, what spurred that time in my life was in 6th grade. I was like 11. Through a series of events, I ended up homeschooling through 6th grade. I was 12. And so I went from like an abundance of social connection and purpose and somebody who was an extrovert and had a lot of friends to boom, I'm at home alone.
Gotcha.
And I didn't know what was happening, but I just remember feeling hopeless, dark, just this deep sense of grief and emptiness. I can't explain it, but I just remember right away I kicked in with like, I need things to make me feel joy again, but it just was so hard. I couldn't see the meaning of life. It was depressing.
You don't know what's going on. You're having these feelings of isolation and sadness, but you're young. You don't understand depression, anxiety, mental health. And so you don't even know how to reach out for help.
I didn't.
Okay, so high school, the party years come in your 20s. So you did go to college in your like after high school?
Actually, it started in high school. Like my freshman year was like when I...
Same with me. Yeah, kind of partying.
When partying, older kids, drinks at parties, all that kind of stuff.
Right. You know, I get it, the high school while, but I want to get kind of into now your adult years. So college, moving to LA, does the drinking get out of hand?
Yeah, it did. Honestly, it was so accepted. It's like, you moved to LA, you're in your early 20s and you're living off Sunset Boulevard. I was like, that's just what you do. Also, the week after I graduated, I got a DUI.
Wow. Okay.
I got a DUI and I was like...
I can't even imagine you like this because I've only known you sober and...
I went to jail.
No way.
She was in jail. I've lived. I've lived. I had to do community service, orange jacket, cleaning up trash. Yes, she's lived.
What was that like, being out there on the freeway?
It was humbling. It was the city of Riverside. But I got in the bougie area. I got to clean up the courthouse area. Because a lot of people go in and they think, no, not me, or I just got caught. Everybody drinks. It's like, you know what? I shouldn't have been doing it. Yeah, other people do it. I'm sure everybody in this, room or people listening, you've had some drinks and you've driven. But it's never okay. It's never okay. And I deserved it. And I just thought, you know what? I could have hurt myself. I could have died. I could have killed someone. I mean, it was bad. Whew. And so... Was
this the beginning of your sobriety after this?
No.
Oh, so...
You would think by getting a DUI, going to jail, I would think drinking was a problem. No, Paul, at that point, just drinking and driving was a problem.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the alcohol. Of course not the alcohol. Yeah.
So the justification started happening. It's
I just have to be smarter when I drink.
Take a cab. Right. It's never actually a problem. Yeah. What was your bottom when you knew?
So I had whispers, so to speak. Like I've never had any real clairvoyant or amazing sky parting or visualizing angels. But there's been two little whispers like, if God speaks, I just heard inside, it wasn't audible, but like, stop drinking. I got that around maybe 24, and then I got it again around 30, and I kept ignoring it. And it was a very clear message, like internal message, and I just was very defiant. And so it wasn't until my bottom was, I had gotten to a relationship, ended. It was so painful. God bless him. We're still very cordial and friendly, and I love him. All breakups are painful when you love someone and you have to part ways. And so I was in such pain because it represented so much more than that relationship and that breakup. So it was just like a washing over of grief, of loss, of pain. And I just remember thinking, I don't want to miss this. I don't want to get drunk right now. Because usually when you break up, you're like, I'm going to the bars. I just want to numb this. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to really be awake during this because I don't want to do this again.
Interesting.
I don't want to do this again. It was just a lot of pain. I journaled a lot and I just kept reading my journals and I'm like, oh my God, alcohol's been my 1 degree. They talk about the razor's edge. One of my mentors talks about the razor's edge. We all have that 1 degree that holds us back from being our best. For me, it was alcohol and I knew it. And it wasn't until I let it go that my life really flourished. So that was my 1 degree.
That's a great way to segue into getting into who you are today and exactly how you got there. So I want my listeners to really let that soak in and know that for any of us that that are finding ourselves in the same rut. My 1 degree is food, is sugar. It's just the one thing that I constantly battle with.
Yeah.
You know, I've given up all kinds of hard addictions, from gambling, smoking, drinking, drugs. I'm sober also 23 years. Everything. It's food. It doesn't matter how many times we fall. It's how many times are we going to get up, right? Stallone has that great saying, which is so true, right? Life is going to beat you down, but it's not how hard, you know, you hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep going. So for the listeners to hear your story, I want to move into where she's at today, but to hear that journey, DUIs, I mean, multiple times seeing the signs, hearing the signs, but, you know, at 24, your first whisper, 30, your next whisper, with DUIs, right? It's a journey. So if life isn't really where you want it to be right now, it doesn't mean that it's not going to be. Everything we go through in every moment is part of the journey to where we're going. So I love that you said you wanted to embrace it. Yeah, I love that. Is embracing the suck, right? Goggins says embrace the suck. I mean, you talk about fitness. But
this is a good story. This is a really good story.
Give it to me.
So another one of my mentors, Rory Vaden, he is a accomplished speaker, world speaker with Toastmasters International, and he tells this really great story about the buffaloes and the cows. So basically, there is a space where there is both buffalo and cattle. And so when there's a storm that bubbles up over the Rockies, I think, and they noticed something, that the buffalo would start running west towards the storm because they knew that's the fastest way. The cattle would start running east away from it and be staying in the storm and run with it because they didn't get it. So the whole point is, if you're going through something, be the buffalo. Just go straight in through the storm because it's coming anyway. You can't outrun it. Don't be the cattle, be the buffalo.
Oh, wow.
Right? So that's what I do.
Damn. Yeah. No, I needed that right now. Like, I needed that right now. I'm the buffalo. Believe me.
Not physically be the buffalo.
Just call me a buffalo, everybody. No, I love that. It's so true. It's like, don't be you're running away from the storm. You're staying in it. Yeah. I mean, I like that. That's a gem. Thank you for that. When you made a decision to enter the field of mental health.
If you're listening to a podcast like this of personal development and growing, you're probably that person in your circle that people just come to you. You might know things, you might relate, you might be wanting to help and really encourage people. So I was always that person. And I think we're all given different gifts. That was just one of mine. And through bartending, that was really when I was like, I have my PhD in people. So I was, as my patrons would come and my regulars, I would give them regular therapy and just listen. I think therapists just is a good listener.
Right.
And so I was just in a crisis mode. I think I was around 33, 34 at that point. And I was like, what am I actually doing with my life? Like, this is not how I thought life would turn out. What else can I do? I'm not feeling fulfilled. It was empty. And so just through, contemplation and talking to loved ones, it's like, wow, I can go back to school. I love school. I'm a good student and I love psychology. I never thought I would get a degree in it. But so I just started entertaining that idea and I looked up programs and I found Mount St. Mary's University, shout out to them in Los Angeles. And so I applied and I signed up for the graduate program for psychology and just, it was no turning back. And so just to be able to be paid for something that I already do really naturally was really amazing. I was a deep dive into myself, and it was the most painful but most enriching 2.5 years of my life. And so I graduated in 2020 during the pandemic. I didn't get a walk. But so yeah, I've been practicing since 2019 because you start practicum, and I just got licensed in January. Yeah.
Yes, congrats.
So that was the end of a 5-year kind of journey. And so now I'm a full-time therapist.
Yeah. Now, what kind of joy do you get out of working with people? And is it a hard balance seeing people progress or degress?
Right. So
what's that like?
At first, I would get frustrated and irritated. But like I said, that was kind of in grad school when I was learning. I was so humbled because I was very judgmental. Everybody is. People go, I'm not judgmental. It's like, yes, we all are. We're very judgmental. That we just, it's a reflex. So I was very judgmental. I was very harsh. So I softened a lot by working with people. It softened me. Oh my gosh, compassion. And I learn every day because I want to be like, well, you're a ding dong. What are you doing? You come in every week and you tell me the same damn thing.
Right.
And it's just like, but I see myself. I'm like, I do that too. And I'm going to be, if you can believe it, I'm going to be 40 in May. And so when I was in my 20s, I was that ding dong. I'm sure there was people that looked at me like, what is she doing? She's an idiot.
I'm still that ding dong, and I'm a lot older than you are.
I still am too. So. I still am too. But it's just like, when I listen to people, I have it's like, of course, you have to learn it. They have to learn it in their time. You can't force someone to learn something.
Right.
As a therapist, I don't give them advice or tell them what to do. I ask them questions so that they can turn inward.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the answers are. And find it for themselves. Because if I find it for them, they're not going to get it. They're not going to make those connections.
Right.
You know, so I have patience and compassion. I learn so much every single session with people. So
yeah. Now, how's it feel when you see them have breakthroughs?
Oh, it's so fun.
That must be.
I celebrate them because they're the ones that did it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know what you just did? Like, there's no turning back. It's kind of like, it's a click, it's a connection they make, and it's a knowing that you can't unknow. And I just celebrate them because it's like, oh my gosh.
That's awesome. What's going on now in your life currently? I mean, I know you're busy like crazy. You're saving lives. You
know, video production and storytelling, the video medium, I think it's the most powerful in my opinion. And it's the one that I'm most passionate about. So what I did was, the practice that I'm at now, I work for Talk Therapy Center in Riverside, and the owner, when I first went in to kind of finish my hours for licensure, I went in right away and I said, look, I want to produce content and you don't have a social media, so I really want to help your social media and tell stories in the community and post things for people because it's such a powerful medium. So I gave him this whole kind of proposal, like, hey, look, yes, I'm a therapist. Yes, I'm a mental health professional, but I also am really passionate about storytelling and producing content for social media. So would you be willing to give me this job? And he's like, was like so taken. He's like, what? He's like, well, if you want to be a therapist right now, you can. We'll talk about this later. So the later finally came, and I just got promoted last August. It was kind of around the time, you know, we were talking about other things.
Right.
And so yeah, he gave me like this like studio space and like all the free range to, you know, create content and really build up the whole practice. So now I'm doing therapy partially and creating content about mental health. Oh,
that's fantastic. Where can people
so it's
see
Talk Therapy Center on Instagram, Talk Therapy Center on TikTok. And I myself have my own YouTube channel, Karla Elizondo. You could find me on Instagram and TikTok at Karla Elizondo. And I'm actually relaunching or kind of doing new material for my own personal social media on YouTube. So please like and subscribe.
I love it. Yeah. How do people who don't believe mental health is a thing? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that are like, someone's depressed and it's dude, stop it. Stop crying. Mm-hmm. Let's go to work, go get it done. And you know, mental health, especially culturally too, right? It's a culture thing in some.
Well, I'm glad you're bringing that up because when I went to grad school, the program I was in was actually targeted towards the Latinx community. And so we targeted the Latin community, really. My father's from Mexico, you know, I'm first generation in that sense. And, you know, we have these conversations about the stigma, about, you know, you don't talk about your problems outside of the family, outside of your tribe. When we don't talk about things, the darker things perpetuate. In every culture and everything, there's a lot of abuse, you know, physical, sexual, verbal. There's a lot of abuse that's not talked about, and it just creates generations of trauma and depression and anxiety. If I were to say, you know, for anybody listening, if you don't believe, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's all the way you understand it. But there is many, many studies that show that how you interpret circumstances and situations that happen in your life have a true effect on your chemistry. Your psychology becomes your biology. Your psychology becomes your physiology. And so diseases like, you know, diabetes or high blood pressure or having an ulcer in your stomach, those can be manifestations of psychological issues that have been suppressed, anxiety that has been suppressed, that's turned into depression in your body. Wow. And so, you know, they talk about a body that's dis-eased, not at ease, dis-eased instead of at ease. And so the way we think, the way we talk, the way we relate and connect with one another, it could be a matter of life or death. And so when it comes to different cultures not believing. I get it. It's kind of airing your dirty laundry, so to speak. Like to go to a therapist, it's like, oh my gosh, we don't do that. You're, bucking the whole tribal contract that we had, and you're going outside of the family. But I would encourage anybody, there's a lot of really wonderful, Latinx therapists out there, people that speak your language, your native language, and, just find those resources because they're there. And I'll give you a list. So Paul's going to post links if you, can resonate with that, or you're a, native Spanish speaker and you want to get mental health or help, or just watch videos on YouTube about it.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And speaking of abuse, and it's such a tough thing, when you're going, especially when you get into like the physical and sexual abuse, and there's such a deep shame that, comes with that. And I think they say, I don't know the exact stats, but 1 out of every 4 people are sexually abused by, a loved one or someone.
And it's usually, and this is the thing, and I get it, but people who abuse young children, the victims, they're people they're family, they're people that are around you, they're cousins, there's siblings, there's uncles, aunts, grandparents. I mean, it happens, and it's like, be the buffalo, run into it, acknowledge it, deal with it. Don't be the cattle and have it go on and perpetuate and have people being abused kind of not wanting. No one wants to hear that. And no one wants to suspect that their loved one could be doing that. But usually it's a cycle. That person was abused because someone else was abused that abused them. And it's a cycle that needs to be ended, and we have to confront it. And it's not comfortable, and no one wants to think that their dad could do that, or their uncle or their cousin could do that, or their neighbor could do that, or their babysitter could do that. But that's how it happens. It's people you trust.
Yeah. And we'll put some links up there with some phone numbers and hotlines that people could contact if they're experiencing any of these kinds of these traumatic experiences. Not everything's, sexual abuse or physical abuse. Sometimes it's a parent laying something on you that as a child that you shouldn't have to hold on to.
Right.
And, and like a dark family secret that's, and there's lots of different traumas.
Oh, yeah. So they call them big T's and little T's. Like big traumas, we all know, like car crashes, accidents, falling out of a tree, a rape or something. It's like those are big T's. Or, little T's are just the everyday things. Like when I was, at my T-ball game, my dad yelled, what's going on? You're a piece of whatever, and you were embarrassed in front of everybody. Trauma isn't what happens, it's how we perceive what happens. It doesn't matter if anybody else gets it or not. If it's disturbing to you and it causes psychological, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical pain in your body, that's a trauma, an unprocessed trauma to you. You don't have to validate it or, because a lot of people try to my trauma is bigger than yours, or it doesn't matter. If you have been traumatized in any way and everyone thinks you're silly or come on, just get over it, just know that you're right. Your experience is right, and you don't have to explain it to anybody. And when it comes to abuse, especially the shame around sexual abuse, it is not your fault. Never your fault. Even if you were aroused, even if you enjoyed anything. I always use this with my clients that experience this. We have physical bodies that we're not in control of. So if I were to take a lemon slice and I put it to your mouth, Paul, and I had you tied down and I put a lemon slice and you salivated, would you feel guilty for salivating?
No.
Because do you have control over that?
No.
No. And that's the same with a lot of shame. And I'm just using this as an example because people say, well, I feel guilty because I enjoyed it, or I climaxed, or, things happened and it was felt pleasurable to me. That's the way your body was programmed. Just if I were to put a lemon in your mouth, you would salivate. It's your body reacting to these things. And that's the same with our sexual arousal. So
same with domestic abuse or verbal abuse. It's like,
I must have been a bad kid.
I'm a bad husband. That's why she cheated on me. Or I was working too much. And we always want to take on the responsibility of somebody else's trauma.
I encourage everybody, if you're dealing with a secret, whether it be something you did, a shame, or something your family member did, or a friend or a loved one, shame, Brene Brown is the queen of shame. So look at her free content, all of her, podcasts. She studied shame. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and she does amazing research into shame. And it's basically, the difference between shame and guilt is like shame, I'm bad, and then guilt, like I did something bad or something. But it's like shame is just when we don't tell the truth, when we don't bring the story to light, and it just like a petri dish. It just festers, and it's poisonous. But get it out, get it up and out, because it's just acid and poison in your body.
That's important. That's a great message. It's just constantly not holding on to something that's, would you say, disease?
Yeah. It's acid. It's a disease. It's eroding. It's toxic. Every time you feel it, it's toxic in your body, and you're not letting it out. It just stays there, and it's. Yeah, I don't have my little cards that I usually do my drawings on, but I would put one up right now if I had one. It's like, yeah, you gotta be. We're
gonna give them all your information, where to follow you, and if you like what you hear, Karla is daily putting up content, and as we start to kind of close out, I also just want to bring that attention. We talked a lot about abuse, but I also want to bring that attention to depression. Mm-hmm. We're an inspirational podcast, so that lack of motivation, something I have always constantly dealt with in my life. And I think it's an accumulation of all these kinds of, my own traumas, whatever I have been through in the military, in the street, whatever I've been through. But the lack of motivation. That's the thing.
Look, this is the deal. And I've told you.
I'm locked in.
Listen.
Tell me.
Everything we do or we don't do is driven by your beliefs. And if you're not doing anything, or you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, it's a belief issue. You are locked into a paradigm, what we call a certain image of yourself that needs to change, because logically, in your mind, consciously, you say, for example, I want to lose weight. Of course I want to lose weight. I don't want to continue to comfort eat or binge or go off my wagon of my diet. Logically, you know that. You know how to lose weight. You know the boot camps. You know the diet. You know it. So why aren't those results you're getting? Because that's not where our results come from. Our results come from our subconscious, which is 95% of our results in life. Unconscious beliefs, the roots that bear the fruit in our life. You have to get to that level. They call it the knowing-doing gap. We know it, but we're not doing it. We're incongruent. We're not in alignment with what we want. So if you have a result in your life, I certainly have some still, when we're not seeing the results that we want and that we know, and we know how to do it, but why aren't we doing it? Because we have to get to the root of the problem. It's in our subconscious mind, in our deep-rooted beliefs. And how you change a belief or a paradigm is only two ways. An emotional impact, like a big 9/11 it changed our paradigm overnight.
Yeah, COVID,
big emotional impacts. An accident, and it could be a good thing too, but usually they're bad. It could be the birth of your first baby or a marriage.
Right.
Like your paradigm's changed overnight.
Right.
Or constant spaced repetition, because all your beliefs, how you see yourself, has been programmed into you since birth. That's why you get the results you get, unbeknownst to you. So how do you change it? The same way it got programmed in, through repetition of a new program. But usually we don't put that effort in. And it's temporary, but we have to put that in until we can really transform it to a new pattern. It's like software in a computer. It's like an iOS system. You're operating on iOS version whatever, Paul, you don't like. You must put in a new OS system. And to do that, it does take really uncomfortable work and just constant spaced repetition of a new idea and a new image of yourself. And until you do that, Paul, nothing will ever change.
And to find that work for the people, I know where to find it. It's you. It's pick up the phone. For the people who want to find that, where do they go find that? Where do we start?
Yes. So when it comes to all this, what we've been talking about, mental health, subconscious programming, abuse, trauma, personal development, all of this stuff, depression, anxiety, For free, YouTube. Go to YouTube. Go to my sites. Go to all the links that Paul's going to list below. Just open your mind. If you're in a lot of pain or you want answers, we live in a time of great information that's free. So there is no excuse to kind of stay where we're at. There's so much information out there. So there's very well-known vetted doctors and scientists and neuroscientists and therapists and mental health professionals, free online, YouTube, podcasts, books, that you can start educating yourself. That's what I would say to people just to start.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Carla, listen, if you're listening, I'm doing it. I started 9 weeks ago. I'm down 25 pounds. I made a choice. The journey's on. You're going to witness it. I'm doing the transformation. It's a lot of work. Carla's 100% right. I'm wishing any of you, if you want to change, if there's something happening, get up right now, do it. Don't talk about later. Don't hit save on the video. Go to these links.
Be the buffalo.
Be the buffalo. Go towards it, right? Embrace it. Embrace change. Change is good. Change is always scary, but it's good. Anything worth getting is worth going and working for. It's inspiration. This is the FYI podcast. This is where we're finding your inspiration and we follow it. That's what we do. So I hope you're feeling inspired. I'm feeling inspired. I'm getting pumped up. Carla, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
You're amazing.
Thank you for having me.
Follow Carla. I hope you got some out of this, guys. You know, as always, I don't know you, but I love you. And thank you for watching. Send us any comments. Remember, FYI, finding your inspiration and follow it. Paul Tully, I'll see you on the next one. Hey, everybody, please tune into this next episode. We're talking with Aaron Runyon. This is truly a tragic but inspiring story. Unfortunately, Aaron's daughter was abducted, murdered in these very streets. We're going to talk about that incident, but we're also going to talk about what Aaron went on to do after that incident. Aaron has helped save so many children's lives since then, and we're going to hear her story.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.